हेडिंग क्या डालें? हाँ हाँ है, हाँ हेडिंग डाल के दो. हाँ 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 हाँ. Okay, so I welcome you all once again. This is the second day of practice to pass exam workshop, right? Okay, so now we are starting with the day 2. I have already shared the agenda with you guys of day 2, and you all must have gone through the agenda. Now, in day 1, we have solved one specific question, and you all must have attempted it. All must have attempted that question. You all must have gone through that. Today's agenda for the day will be that we are going to go through the other part of this handout. Again, I have told you many times that you will not be looking into the notes that were given to you in my regular classes. Now you are going to go through the notes that I am providing you now. That is the notes for the workshop, not the notes for which I have already given you in your regular course, right? So these are the notes. This is the second day notes. Then I'll be providing you with the third, fourth, and last but not the least, we'll be going for the mock exam. So let me show you today's handout. So एक काम करो, जरा handout तो ले आओ. इंग्लिश में पूछ रहे हैं. Okay, guys, now please be quiet. Please be quiet. Let's start today's class. And I have shared this presentation slide with you all. I have also given you the handout of this presentation slide. So kindly have a look at your handouts, or you may see the screen right now. This is the day 2 of Strategic Business Leadership Workshop. And I assume that you must be revising, you must have done the revision of day 1 as well. Let's just quickly start with the marketing stuff first. Yes, this was my last attempt. The result you can see. Last, yes, yes. Okay, Shakti. Let's move forward. Okay, so in day 2, we are going to go through some of the professional marks. Please. We will be going through some of the professional marks. I assume you all have your PCs open right now. So if you want, you will be doing your practice question on these PCs on the practice platform. If not, then you can change your seat and sit somewhere else. Or if you have your own laptop, that is equally good. Right? We'll be starting with the professional marks. We'll be starting with the professional marks first. Now, this is the thing that the majority of you are asking me, that we need to go through the skepticism skills. And skepticism skills means that the skills which relates to the professional judgment in terms of a decision being right or wrong, or in terms of a person being evaluated on the basis of that decision. So there are 5 different skills that you are going to be tested upon. And these are the communication skills, commercial acumen, analysis, skepticism, and evaluation skills. So let's just quickly go through them one by one, please. Marking scheme include 20%. Now, this is not something new, although this is new in other papers of professional series. That is the paper of SBR, AAA, AFM, and all other papers of professional series are now including these 20% marks. Previously, they included 4 marks, but now they are 20% marks or 20 marks in each and every professional exam. However, this has been a historic trend of SBL examiner, that he has included 20% marks or 20 marks in their exam. Please. The skills being examined in the requirement should have been evident in how candidate answer the task. Now, one thing that is being recently asked by one of my students is that will we be evaluated, or will we be asked to give 2 professional or to showcase 2 professional marks in one single question? No. The answer to it is no. You will be asked only to evaluate or to present 1 professional mark in the given or stated scenario. You will be asked to present 1 professional mark or 1 professional scenario to be tested in one specific requirement. And then it says, when awarding professional marks, the markers look primarily at the professional skills being tested in the task requirement. But also look, now this is something which is very important and which I have been saying again and again in throughout my regular classes as well. See, the biggest mistake that students do right now is that they believe that this professional marks or these professional marks will be awarded just on the basis of showing the communication skills. That is not the case. You'll have to show a proper format, you'll have to show the proper professional marks, and at the end of the day, you'll have to give the proper requirement justification in order to gain these 20% professional marks. It is not just that you're going to gain these marks in isolation. In order to gain these marks, you'll have to present your answer in the most appropriate and the given manner. See, last class, I have also shown you the examiner's comment, in which the examiner says that one of the biggest blunders that students are doing right now is that they are not remembering the format. So if you can't remember the format, or if you are not a corporate student, then what you can do is just try to rote learn each and every format. If you are not rote learning, or if you are doing a blunder in your format, trust me, you are just throwing away your marks. You are just throwing away your hard earned marks. You have studied a lot, but at the end of the day, if you are losing your marks on the basis of the professional formats, this is not going to gain you some good passing result in your examination. So make sure that you, even if you want to rote learn, that is equally good, but don't make a blunder in format. For example, even if you are doing a blunder, let's suppose the format says that you'll have to write FAO for the attention of, and you are writing to or from, the examiner is going to deduct marks. And deducting marks means that if you are scoring 51% marks, and just because of this you scored 49%, this is a big blunder that you have done. So please make sure that you're not going through these blunders. When awarding professional marks, markers look primarily at the professional skills. But now this is something which many students ask me, sir, will I be awarded marks on my grammatic mistakes? Obviously, if the grammatic mistakes are very obvious. For example, in my previous attempt, there was a student who used to write the THE after every single word. In every line, I found out at least 2 to 3 the. Now, this is a blunder, not a mistake. And you're not going to gain good marks. Again, this is something which you will not be doing in your examination. Some generic mistake in regard with grammatic errors, some generic mistake in regard with connotations, some generic mistake in regard with using wrong grammar or maybe wrong sentence structuring is going to lose you marks, and some obvious one is going to lose. Yes, you will be given a margin of around 5 to 10%. That is equally acceptable. Grammatic mistake of around 5 to 10%, maybe construction mistake of around 5 to 10% is acceptable. No issues in that. But if you are doing a mistake of around 20 to 30% in regard with grammatic errors or maybe another form of error, then you're not going to gain some good marks. So make sure that you don't do this blunder. Professional skills are being tested in the task requirement, but also looked at the general professionalism that candidate demonstrated, which include consideration of logical, well presented answers which avoid unnecessary repetition of answers. See, I have also shown you a comment of examiner in which the examiner stated that many good number of students have done a blunder of using the same point in two different answers in the same given scenario. However, they used a different wording for the two different scenarios. How the wording ended up into the same conclusion. For example, if I am saying that okay, TT for you is an is a economically well maintained country, and on the other hand, if I'm saying that the living standard of TT for you is quite well, both these things means the same. You're not going to be awarded two different marks on two different statements that results in the same conclusion. Again, well presented answer which avoid unnecessary repetition of answer and the question sec. Markers are also looking for answers to be presented in an appropriate tone of the recipient. Again, I have told you several times that let's suppose if I'm talking to the CFO or if I'm talking to, let's suppose the CEO of the company, or if I'm talking to the overall stakeholders community, overall shareholders community. See, if I'm talking about the shareholder, my answer should include 80 to 90% about profitability and about the long-term objectives of the company. But if I'm talking to the stakeholder, my answer should include in some way or the other the environmental effects as well, the overall stakeholders community effects. Now, these two different answers means two different tones. If I'm talking to someone who is of a higher hierarchy, my tone and my words and my methodology of writing will be on a very base level, including professional jargons, but with a very light and a very polite tone. However, if I'm talking to the trainee department or if I'm talking to someone who is working under me, I'll have to give more details in order to make him understand the answer. So your tone is very important. If I'm talking to my trainee in the examination scenario, I'll have to give more and more details as compared to the person who's over my hierarchy. For example, if I'm talking to the CEO of the company, I do not need to give that much amount of information as I'll be giving to the trainee of my company. So these are two different things and two different tones should be used. If I'm talking to the CFO of the company, my answer should include the financial part. However, if I'm talking to the overall stakeholder community, it should include the financial part, but not to the extent in which the CFO's answer included. So these are two different tones for two different types of stakeholders of the company. So make sure that you are not going to go through these blunders. Markers are also looking for the answers to be presented in appropriate tone for the recipient. So you'll have to look at the recipient. So again, I'm repeating it once again. There are four different parts that you will be looking for whenever you are going to do any single question in your examination scenario. The first part is who you are. What is your role in the scenario? Sometimes the examiner might ask you to perform one single role for the entire question, for the entire paper. And the other times, the examiner might tell you that, okay, you need to perform two different roles, or maybe three different roles, or maybe four different roles. Each and every question is asking you to be a different type of person. Maybe question number one is saying that you'll have to be the external consultant. Question two says that you will be the CFO. Question three says that you are the trainee of the company. Each and every question might ask you to be into a different type of role. So you will have to wear the hat in the same specific role. Then you'll have to identify whom we are talking to. If you are talking to the board of directors, your tone and your professional jargons will be different. If you're talking to the company CEO, you are talking to the employees of the company, you're talking to the stakeholders of the company. Each and every person's writing methodology will be different. Third, and the most important thing is which professional format is being tested. You have to rote learn. You should know each and every format. And the fourth most important thing is that what professional marks are being tested. Are you being tested on the basis of evaluation, communication, so on and so forth? So make sure that you are very well aware of all these four different factors when you are writing your answers. Moving forward, 20% professional marks. Put the answer in the right format asked for. You are going to gain marks not on the basis of showcasing skepticism. not on the basis of showcasing commercial acumen, not on the basis of showcasing communication, evaluation, or analysis skills. Rather, you will be awarded on the basis of these factors along with the professional format and in the appropriate tone. It says, head your answers properly. What do you mean by this? Any one of you? Headings should be provided where required. Headings should be provided where required, except the format which should not include heading until unless told by the examiner. For example, letter, email maybe, yes. But in report, you can easily, and I would suggest to write headings. But you should be very much aware of what headings you are writing. Headings cannot be statements. Many students, what they try to do, they write big statements instead of headings. Heading is a one-liner heading, not a one complete statement may be made as a heading, right? So your headings will gain you some marks. Head your answer properly. The more the heading in your answer, it is better for you to demonstrate general professional. You know, for example, if I'm writing pestle answer, so it is very obvious that you will have to write the answer in heading. If I'm writing the 3 E's answer, it's very obvious that you'll have to write heading. But let's suppose if I'm writing an answer in which I'm just demonstrating the overall financial and non-financial sector factors of the company, and I'm demonstrating these factors on the basis of maybe on the basis of a company's evaluation, and I'm writing a letter, then it's better not to write in heading rather than to differentiate between two different paragraphs. So that will be a good strategy. Avoid long paragraph. This is something which is very important for you. Avoid long paragraph. Don't make a paragraph for more than 5 lines. If you are making paragraph for more than 5 lines, in fact, I would rather suggest, because you are going for a computer-based exam, go for 3 to 4 line maximum. And make sure that if you feel like, okay, one specific point ends at 1.5 lines, don't be worried that, okay, I'm not going to gain 2 marks on that 1.5 line. You will be gaining 2 marks. Trust me, the examiner is not going to, he's not going to start counting the number of words within each line. But yes, don't write big paragraph. You can even write 2 valid point in one single paragraph, but don't make it more than 2. It's better that if you can evaluate 1 point in one paragraph, that will be something which is going to give you the best marks. But let's suppose if you feel that, okay, my one single point is ending at 1.5 line. This does not mean that you're going to make 1.5 line paragraph in that specific question. This is going to give a very bad impression on your presentation. It's better that you can write 2 points where a paragraph is including 1.5 line of one specific right single point. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? Is it clear to everyone? Okay. The maximum length of a paragraph should not be more than 3 to 4 lines or 4 sentences. Again, you are going for a computer-based exam. It should not be more than 3 to 4 sentences. Put the answer in the right tone. Demonstrate professional skills are requested under each requirement by carefully looking at the prompt hint given by the examiner. Now the examiner is giving you a very obvious hint. The hint is to analyze, to evaluate, to provide commercial acumen, to provide the communication or the analysis skills. Moving further, professional marks. Now, most important thing that we can read right now is the feedback on the professional marks given by the examiner. Let's look at this. Careful attention to the format is required, is very important, and students should focus on it, not ignore it or reproduce answer in wrong format. The examiner is very obviously saying that there are many candidates. What they tried to do is they replicated the format of letter and report. They replicated the format of press release and report, memo, and let's suppose the risk register. You are not going to go for wrong formats. See, if you are failing your examination and at the end of the day you come and say, sir, I tried my level best, but I was not able to gain good marks in the professional formats. Isn't this something which is wrong on your side and not on my side? Obviously, this is something which is very, very wrong, and you guys have done a great blunder. So don't do this, right? Whatever the format requested, the answer should be presented and structured clearly with headers throughout the answer, and avoid overlong paragraph. Maximum length of a paragraph shouldn't be more than. This is the examiner's feedback, not the feedback provided by me, not the feedback provided by any other individual, but an examiner is saying that you need to provide at least 3 to 4 sentences of paragraph, and repetitive information will not let you gain some good marks. Again, same rule will be followed. One paragraph, 3 to 4 lines. Yes. So this means that if, let's suppose, if you're going for assumption based paragraph, you must be having that handout in which I have told you some generic point to write. So you can write those generic point, and you can easily make those generic point up to 3 to 4 sentences. That is going to be something which is very obvious in your exam. And I hope so when you are practicing for these examinations, you will be writing those assumption based paragraphs within 3 to 4 lines. It will not be a big hassle for you. You will easily do this, right? Let's move forward. And let's see. Next part says, hmm, okay, demonstration of professional skill. Let's see the professional skill, and this is not something which is being given by me, but by the examiner. Question number 1A, December 2018, exam asked for professional skill marks are available for demonstrating analysis skills in investigating and considering. There are two different parts. There are two different parts. Number one is that you need to investigate. Number two is that you need to consider the information from a range of different sources. Now, analysis skills are available. The skills to be demonstrated is analysis, but how? Number two, but how? By investigating and considering information from a range of sources. Read the sentence after the skills completely to understand how it demonstrates. And this is what I refer to the promptness or hit. So what you need to do, once you are reading, read the sentence completely after the word of skill. For example, professional skill marks are available for demonstrating analysis skills. Full stop. In investigating and considering information from a range of different sources. So what you need to do, you need to investigate and you need to consider the different types of information in regard with the analysis skills that is being presented. So a student who consider information from a range of exhibits, from writing answers to, for example, question number 1A, will most likely to be the one demonstrating the analysis skills appropriately. Each time read the statement after the skill, as it gives you a hint or prompt how to go about it. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? Once you stop at the analysis skills word, then read the entire sentence in one go, because this is going to give you a hint that okay, this skill is being tested, and why is it being tested? In regard with the analysis skill. So I'm saying that professional skill marks are available for demonstrating analysis skills. Full stop. Take a break and then move forward in investigating. Now, whenever I'm reading the other part of the sentence, you can assume that in my back of my mind, that specific analysis skills is rotating. So it says in investigating and considering the information from a range of different sources. So that specific thing is going behind my mind. Is it clear to every one of you? Do you get what I'm trying to explain? Okay. So if I move forward, today's plan is being given to you. It's a very specific plan. Okay. So what I have done is in today's class, what I've done is rather than reading the entire question, I have identified some of the exhibits. I have taken out some of the exhibits, and if you can see the questions that I have given you to you, these are not complete questions. In fact, on the first page of the question, it includes relevant extracts are taken for the purpose of practicing. So this is not an entire question of SBL, but rather than wasting time on reading the entire question, I have taken out some of the exhibits in which you are going to answer, and then I'm going to draft an answer in front of you. It says today's day plan is professional ethics, public interest, corporate code of ethics. P1 December 2013, question number 4. SBL September 2018, Cofold Construction Company. That is question number 3A. Board of Directors, again corporate governance part. Split the rules between NADs, committees, remuneration, diversity, and insider trading. Specimen paper number 1, DCS question number 1B. What do you understand by the word family owned business versus listed company? Internal control and weaknesses, SBL September 2018, Cofold Construction Company, question number 3B. So we are going to go through them. Professional code of ethics. Now, what do you mean by professional code of ethics? You must have done this several times. You know it very well. There are 5 principles of ethics, which include IPOC, IP square OC, integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, objectivity, and professional competence and due care. It says a professional accountant is expected to protect the interests of the following in addition to the shareholders' interest. So a professional accountant is, required to do this. Uh, these include customers, suppliers, employees, government, society, community as a whole. Now, professional code of ethics is issued by the organization, applicable to all employees, customers, society, community, suppliers as a whole. So why do we talk about the code of ethics? When I say that we are going to provide equal opportunity to the employees of the company. For example, we have the concept of gender equality. We have the concept of no discrimination. We are not going to discriminate on the basis of color, creed, caste, maybe any other functionality. Working condition. Just a minute. Let's move forward. कुछ और. Employees, gender equality. Now, what do you mean by gender equality? Gender equality, again, diversity in the board, diversity in the employees. No discrimination. You are not going to discriminate individuals on the basis of color, creed, caste, gender, any other ethnic background. Working conditions, you will be providing them safe, reliable, and healthy working conditions. Again, we all are following such requirements within our companies. Each and every one of you who is right now working in different corporate sectors, you know it very well that all these requirements are being fulfilled at every single stage. Is it the case? No. Health and safety, Hamza. Health and safety is very important, and each and every employee should be provided with healthy and safe environment throughout their work tenure. Better pay. One of the biggest problems in our corporate sector is that many corporate sector exploit their individuals on the basis of the pay that they are providing to their employees, and that is something which should not be done. Customers and suppliers, you will be providing them with the quality product. You will be providing them with the product safety. Personal data privacy and its confidentiality should be upheld. It should not be treated it should be treated wisely. Then we have the fair business practices. Now, what do you mean by fair business practices? I will not be using any unfair means in order to get a specific contract or in order to get a specific tender. Society or community as a whole, there are job opportunities for the individuals who are working around my companies. I'm providing opportunities to the local individuals. I'm providing opportunities for even to the foreigners who are working. I'll be providing them opportunities on the basis of the fact that they are from the diverse labor force. We are doing the CSR activity, which include the corporate social responsibility and environmental pollution impact, or I may say it as carbon footprints are reduced to an acceptable level within the society. Moving forward, it says that this is one of the question. I guess you guys have done it. Have you all done this Lobo companies question? Now let's do one thing. Let's just wait for next 15 minutes. You guys are going to do this question and then we are going to move forward, right? I guess you all must have gone through or you must have read this question, but we all have not written this question. So I would want you all to kindly write the answer to this question first and then we'll move forward with the next one. And secondly, we are also taking namaz break for 10 minutes. So you keep on writing and those who want to go for namaz, they can go and come back and then start writing this question. अभी दोबारा कर दोबारा ये क्वेश्चन कर ले राइट हाँ मैं अभी यहीं पे हूँ काइंडली स्टार्ट राइटिंग दिस क्वेश्चन हाँ क्यों ये अच्छा सवाल है ये अच्छा सवाल है कौन सा हालांकि वो नहीं था. This is not professional basic. नहीं, इसने नॉर्मल प्रोटोकॉल को फॉलो नहीं किया. चलो सऊद, शक्ति, बेटा बैठ जाओ, शुरू कर, बाहर जाके डिस्कस कर लो. Let's start now. I hope so. You all are back. All online students, can you all hear me? And I'm visible to you all. Good. Let's move forward. Now we are going with the topic of the corporate governance. Now in this topic, in this topic we have the responsibility for chairman and CEO of the chairman and CEO of the company. Now these are the board of directors for which we are talking about. Roles and responsibility of chairman. Again, the chairman and CEO should be two different persons, and it is most suited that if they are two different persons, they will have an impact on the business methodology, or they'll have a good impact on the overall business communication. It says that roles and responsibility of chairman. Basically, the chairman have the responsibility of running the entire set of board, and the CEO will have the responsibility of running the operations. Running the board. There is a link between the company and shareholders and stakeholders. Communication with the stakeholders or shareholders, for example, the annual report, protection or protect stakeholders or shareholders' interest and increase long-term shareholders' wealth. Now, this is something which is important. We need to protect the overall shareholders' interest, and we need to protect the overall stakeholders' wealth. Ensure that the smooth running of the board, such as appropriate, again, you can remember this by the word of KISSED. K stands for appropriate knowledge, I stands for independence, S stands for skills, second S stands for size, E stands for experience, and D stands for directors. So each and every director should have KISSED, that is the appropriate size, knowledge, skills, experience, independence, balance between the board, that is between the executive and non-executive directors. Effective functioning of the board committee. The board committee, there are 4 different board committees, that is the risk committee, audit committee, remuneration and nomination committee. And regular meetings should be held on a daily basis. Directors nomination, performance and remuneration. Now, what do you mean by directors nomination, performance and remuneration? Roles and responsibility of CEO. Now, roles and responsibility of CEO. The main role or responsibility of CEO is the running of the company. Now, what do you mean by running of the company? Running of the company means that there should be proper strategies in order to run the entire set of the board. You should propose the strategy, how the board is going to run. You should propose the strategy, what will be the overall strategic impact of what have been decided previously. There must be an implementation of decisions of the board. The board is taking decisions on annual basis. The board is taking decisions on interim basis. You are going to decide what decisions should be implemented, and once decided, you will end up in finding out the best decision for the board. That is the CEO of the company. Manage resources effectively and efficiently. Risk management and internal control. There should be a proper risk management strategy. There should be a proper internal control strategy. All 5 components of internal control, that is, what are the 5 components? Control environment, entities, risk assessment procedures, information system relating to financial reporting, monitoring of control and control activities. These are the 5 components of control that should be implemented on timely basis, and there should be a check and balance on these 5 internal control systems. Timely and accurately reporting. The reporting should be on timely basis. Legal and regulatory compliances. There should be proper legal compliances. There should be proper regulatory compliances. No penalization impact. Interact with the external parties such as government, key stakeholders, key customers, key suppliers, and stock exchanges. Then splitting the role between chairman and CEO. Why is it important to split the role between the chairman and CEO of the company? The chairman runs the board, the CEO runs the company. Again, you know it very well. The chairman is running the board, the CEO is running the company. The running of the board should be separate from running the company. Hence, the role of chairman and the role of CEO should not be performed by one single person. As this concentrate excessive power in the hand of one single person. See, the corporate governance requirement generally suggests that the board and CEO should, at the board and the overall board head and the head of the operation, that is the CEO, should be two different persons. But it is not a legal compulsory requirement. It's not a compulsory requirement. Why isn't it a compulsory requirement? Because the board is being run by a different person and the CEO is being run by the different person will create a better confidence and an impact of confidentiality over the information that is flowing right in the board and in the company. So this will have a good impact on the overall societal as well as the overall transparency of the board. Advantages of splitting the role, you know it very well. I'm just quickly going through these topics so that we can quickly move towards our practice question. Segregation of duties leading to improved governance. If there is a segregation of duties, this will lead to improved governance as well. Chairman is able to challenge the CEO. Chairman will be in a position to challenge the CEO of the company. So if the decision of CEO does not seems to be reliable decisions, then we can easily challenge them out and we can find out that what are the decisions that the CEO is taking. And if these decisions are taken in a wrong manner, this will have the chairman will have a scrutinizing impact. Other directors and employee can communicate with the chairman. This means that there will be a whistleblowing arrangement for all the other directors of the company. Higher shareholder confidence, as chairman is normally an NED. So shareholder will feel more confident because the chairman of the company is normally an NED. Disadvantages of splitting the role, chances of disagreement. There might be some chances of disagreement between the chairman and CEO of the company. Chairman may not have in-depth knowledge. Obviously, the chairman is not the 365 days partner of the company. So, however, there might be some chances that CEO is intimidating the viewpoints of chairman that is being presented. So you should look into these factors as well. Now, who are the NEDs? You know it. You have gone through them in your regular classes as well. So definitions of NED. Basically, NEDs are the part-time outside directors who are independent. That is, they are not the employee of the company, and they are not getting fixed payment. That is, they will not be getting fixed fee for being the employee of the company. They are not the employee of the company, and they will only be given the amount of money for presenting their viewpoint, for giving the unbiased decisions, and making sure that the decision-making capabilities of the executive directors are well scrutinized by the individuals who are regarded as the NEDs. So, and are not entitled to any bonus or share option as it will create conflict of interest and threaten the independence. Role of NED. What are the specific rules of NED? Number one, the strategy, performance, risk, and people. So there are four different roles that an NED is required to do. Strategy, discuss the strategy, bring external experience and leadership. You are going to discuss the strategy, you are going to bring external experiences, you are going to provide leadership qualities. Performance, they are going to scrutinize the performance. I have told you before, they will be scrutinizing the performance of EDs. Risk, ensure effective internal control, risk management system are in place, and financial reporting framework. That is, there's an accurate reporting system. The reporting system is reliable. There's a proper reporting system being maintained throughout the individual's performance, and the NEDs are reporting these system not even to the shareholders but also to the board of directors or to the those charged with governance as well. People, then NED might be performing their roles in different board committee capacities as well. Like for example, nomination committee, remuneration committee, risk committee, audit committee. These are all different forms of committees in which the NEDs are performing their tasks, NEDs are performing their roles. Nomination and remuneration and succession planning of the executive directors and senior executive, providing added comfort to the shareholders. They are going to provide added comfort to the shareholders as they are providing external experiences and they're providing the scrutinizing impact. Then it says that what are the disadvantages of NED? Again, it's costly to hire NEDs. You have to bear a different type of cost. May lack independence because we may say that okay, NEDs, you are not independent. They might have some financial or family orientation with the executive directors, which is not acceptable, although, but they may not be transparent enough to show you their family orientation within the company. Smaller remuneration as compared to executive director. They are not going to get any bonus scheme. They are not going to get any right options. They are not going to get any share options. There will be no incentive for NEDs. May not give sufficient time to the business. Obviously, they are not totally dependent upon the business terminology. So they'll not be spending too much amount of time on their business objectives. Independence of NED. What do you mean by independence of NED? They are not. Now, this is something which is important, and the examiner might test you on these different points. They should not be employee of the company for the last 5 years. Number one, no business or financial relationship with the company for the last 3 years. Not an NED of the same company for the last 9 years. Not have any close family ties or relationship with the executive director. No family member working in the company in senior position. Rather, I would suggest no family member working in the senior position or the position in which the subject matter is being affected, and no share of profit or having share options within the company. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. Moving forward, it says nomination committee. Now we have different types of committee. Nomination committee, I'm again going it into a very quick manner so that we can move towards the question. Nomination committee will include a majority of NEDs. They decide the size of the board. Number one, they are going to decide what should be the size of the board. Ensures sufficient knowledge, skills, and experiences available within the board. Balance between the executive directors and non-executive director. Again, you know what do you mean? What do I mean when I say balance? It is not equality in number, rather it is the balance in terms of voting power, appointment of new director, and training and succession planning. Remuneration committee, which include 100% of NEDs, decide remuneration policies and packages. They are going to decide what is the remuneration policy. They are going to decide what are the remuneration packages that are available to you. Link portion of remuneration with individual performance. They are going to link the portion of remuneration with the individual performance of the board, and medium and long term targets are set by the remuneration policy makers. Then we have the other two committees. Let's see. Audit committee, it will include 100. Now this note is very important. Just look at this. Audit committee includes 100% of NEDs. Review financial statement and internal control, liaison with the external auditors, supervise internal audit function, whistleblowing arrangement. These are the functionalities of audit committee. Let's look at the note. All members have to be NED with at least one member having recent expertise or experience in the finance department. So at least one member should have the expertise in the finance and audit department, and other than that, all other members should be the part of the audit committee, and they are all 100% NEDs. Risk committee will include majority of NED. Why is it including majority of NED? Because the risk element identification by the executive director can be done in a more justifiable manner as compared to the non-executive director. So it means implementation of risk management process, entities risk management framework, embedded risk management in the organization culture, identify key risks and recommend control, ensure that internal control are working effectively. There should be a proper check and balances on the internal control and its functionality. There should be a proper risk assessment process being taken, and the risk embedment, or what do I call it, as risk imposition, should be taken in place, and this risk imposition will generate you to some good risk evaluating or mitigating strategies. Advantages of or importance of having board committee. Again, something which is very self-evident. More focused and specialized. More time can be spent by committees, as full board will have some limited time. Higher involvement by entities, for example, in audit or remuneration committee. Board can focus more on strategic and business matters and increase the shareholders' confidence. So you are going to increase the shareholder confidence if you have all these board committees working within the scenario. Remuneration and reward. You must be well aware of this remuneration. Should I read it out or should I move forward to the question? Okay. Okay. Remuneration and reward. Basically, remuneration and reward will include fixed payment, variable payment that is associated with your task. It will include short-term objective, long-term objective. There may be some attractive packages for the company's director, which will include loyalty bonuses, it will include long-term bonuses, it will include some attractive packages, some share options. Each and everything should be given to the director so that they can have a wider perspective. Diversity in the board means that you are involving individuals from different ethnic, gender, color, creed, caste, and different backgrounds. All these individuals will create diversity within the board, and this will have some advantages and disadvantages. There will be wider pool of talent being created, more representation of different community parts, broader range of ideas, new blood, enhanced communication, enhanced outlook of the organization. Overall strategic matters are dealt into a very positive manner. But however, there are some disadvantages as well. There might be some subgroupings within the board. The board may ignore the viewpoint of their diversified members. Insider trading. Do you know what insider trading is? Yes, please. बताएं क्या होता है? What is an insider trading? Illegal dealing with the shareholder, or maybe illegally obtaining the information and using it for your own benefit or for the benefit of your close family members. Insider trading or dealing means buying and selling company shares by its own directors and senior executives based on the information which is not publicly available yet. Why insider trading is not allowed? क्यों insider trading allowed नहीं है? Directors have to act in the public interest or primary interest, and they cannot take personal gain. Directors have to maximize the long-term wealth of the shareholders, and if they are doing insider trading, they are basically minimizing the wealth of the shareholders, and insider trading can damage the reputation and goodwill of a company. Family-owned business versus the listed company. Family-owned business is a business which is specifically owned by the private individuals, shareholders, sole proprietors, partners. They are the family-owned businesses owned by the family members, mostly private limited company, lesser regulation by the corporate governance requirement. I guess all these factors are totally aware of you. So I guess we should move forward and you know them. This is just a point where you can, revise your topic in just, let's suppose, 15 to 20 minutes. Extra internal control within a listed company. This is something which is important. Chairman and CEO role should be spread between two different persons. There should be sufficient NEDs within the board. There should be proper 4 board committees prevailing within the company. Internal audit department functionality should be made in a proper manner, and while whistle blowing arrangement should be done. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. Let's move towards the first question. Let's move towards the first question. Now take out the specimen paper number 1, DCS company. I'm sharing it on your groups as well. Succession planning means that you are going to find out new directors for the forthcoming time period. One day before notes कैसे? Okay, so do you have this question right now in front of you? Please take out this question. I have given this question. Take this. I have just taken out the relevant extract for this question, and we are going to do the specimen paper number 1, DCS question number 1B, right? So please take out this question. You don't have to download it. You don't have to find this question on your website. Just take this handout out. I'm reading this question and we are doing it. First you guys are going to do, then I'm going to do it in front of you, right? So we'll do this question all together. This is one of the specimen paper. Now my perception about the specimen paper is that the past papers are comparatively easier than specimen paper. See, when it was the first attempt of SBL, the examiner basically provided 3 different specimen papers, and that was the only thing that we had when we started teaching with the SBL examination. So we didn't had any other platform but the 3 different specimen paper, and those 3 different specimen paper were at that specific point of time nightmare for us. Why? Because those 3 specimen paper, firstly, it included at least 12 pages of information. Secondly, they were difficult to solve. However, when the real past paper came in existence, right from that day when the first attempt of SBL and today's date, SBL paper seems, all of them seems to be comparatively less in regard with the let's suppose in regard with the difficulties as compared to the specimen one. So my suggestion is that before solving a complete specimen paper, solve at least 3 past papers, 2 to 3 past papers incomplete, and then go for one specimen, then solve 2 past paper, and then one specimen. Take these specimen paper as your mock exam. Do these specimen paper as self-evaluation strategies, right? Remember, you need to do at least 2 to 3 past papers first, then solve one specimen as a mock. Check yourself, get them corrected, then go for 3 past papers again, and then go for the second specimen exam, then last 3 past paper and the last specimen exam. My suggestion to everyone who is right now sitting in front of me or who's listening to me online, I would rather suggest at least solve 4 to 5 exams within the ACCA's exam platform and then go for the real-time exam, right? So let's just read it out. I'm reading it for you, and then we are going to solve the specimen exam. Okay, let's start this question now. This is a relevant aspect and one of the question that is the most difficult one. But let's try solving it out. The case requirement is included in the task below. Yeah, नहीं 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 नहीं. एक खोल दो. सही है ये थे यहाँ देख लो ना इधर देख. Okay. The case requirement are included in the task shown below. Question number 1B. You are now reviewing the transcript of the interview you held at Java JP, the CEO of DCS company, and you identify some key weaknesses relating to the governance of DCS company, which you want to include in the consultancy report. Required. Explain the key weaknesses. What you are required to do, you are not required to redraft the weaknesses. You are required to explain the weakness. Why is it regarded as a weakness? It's a different type of question. Again, I'm reading it once again. You are reviewing the transcript of the interview you held with JP. JP is a person who is the CEO of DCS company, and you identify some key weaknesses relating to the governance of DCS company, which you want to include in consultancy report. Required. Explain the key weaknesses of the current governance structure of DCS. What do you mean by weaknesses of the current governance structure? Basically, they are not complying to the governance strategies. Now, this might be the case that entities are not working appropriately. There might be lack of the confidentiality between the CEO and chairman of the company. They are not performing their task well. Maybe the total composition of board committee is not appropriate in accordance with the governance. So these are the factors that you are going to discuss before going into the detail of the answer. So yes, DCS company, since it became a public listed company, now what they are doing is they are trying to concentrate that, okay, after becoming a public limited company, you need to apply at any cost, you will be applying the corporate governance requirement. Again, recommending. So the question, one part of the question is still here, and the second part is recommending how they should be addressed. My suggestion is, because it's an explanatory question, don't do this in columnar format. It is not a conventional one. If it would have been to identify the weakness and its impact and provide the control measure, then yes, you can go for the columnar format. But read the requirement once again. You are going to explain the weakness. So it's better to write it one paragraph for the explanation of the weakness, the other paragraph for the recommendation, then another paragraph for explanation of weakness, then another paragraph. You can do it in columnar format, but a better presentation would be to do it in the paragraph. Yes, skepticism will also be not followed because you need to have a questioning mind. Now, this is what I guess someone was asking me for skepticism. This is the question which I would say a baseline question for skepticism. Now, we are going to solve this. Right? Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating the skepticism skills in identifying the key weakness from the information given below. So while reading, we are going to do one thing. You open your laptops or the let's suppose the registers on which you are going to write the answer. I will be reading the question and you will be identifying weaknesses. You are going to identify some points, and then at the end we are going to draft the answer. Is it good to go with? Are you all ready? Yes. एक्सप्लेनेशन में इम्पैक्ट से ज्यादा उस वीकनेस को वीकनेस क्यों कह रहे हैं ये बता करते हैं। अभी पहले पढ़ने तो समझ आ जाएगी। नहीं 14-15 yes, how many paragraphs are we going to write? How many points are we going to write? It says 14 marks. So 14 marks means divided by 2. How many paragraphs? 7 paragraphs. Sorry, 7 different points. Sorry, divided by 3. How many points? How many points are we going to write? 5 different points, right? Is it clear? Let's just quickly start. Okay. I'm reading the entire question in front of you. Guys, please, please. I'm reading the entire question in front of you. Just identify weakness on your laptops or the practice platform on which you are working. Alag alag. 12 plus 2. This means 12 plus 2. एक minute. 12 plus 2 means there are total 14 marks. Now, as I'm saying that you are going to write this question in either, my suggestion is to write it in paragraphic form. So if you are writing it in paragraphic form, this means that 14 marks divided by 2. This means that you are going to give 7 valid points. Maybe. सुन तो लो. एक मिनट. हाँ. In both of them. Yes. Okay, let's just begin this. Let's just begin this, and then at the end I'm going to tell you that how we are going to write the answer. Let me just first read it out for you. Exhibit number 1. You guys will help me in identifying weakness, not general weakness, but weaknesses related to governance requirement. Is it good to go with? Are you all ready to identify weakness? Okay. So background, exhibit number 1. Background report to the DCS company to Hui Lui from DL. Subject, organizational overview, the external environment and the DCS business model, dated 20th of November 2015. Organizational overview. Data communication system, a publicly listed company. On the small capitalization index of the National Stock Exchange used to be a private owned high technology company. Now, this is how the storyline begins. Because it was a private company, so no corporate governance was followed. And now it's becoming a public company, so you should follow the corporate governance. So making it from a private to a public limited company means the transition period will have some errors in regard with the corporate governance. So we have to identify those errors. We will explain why we are calling them as errors, and we are going to give recommendation of how to rectify these errors. So yes, again, privately owned high technology company established in 1997 by computer engineers JP. Due to rapid expansion over the following years, DCS needed to source additional capital to fund its future growth and was floated on National Stock Exchange in 2016. This allowed JP to realize that majority shareholding in the private company. 30% of the flotation was purchased by institutional investor. Now, this is again a storyline where he means to say that you have to follow the corporate governance requirement, because institutional investor would want you to follow the corporate governance requirement to an utmost extent. And DCS, institutional investor, means higher corporate governance expectation. Institutional investor means higher corporate governance expectation. And DCS also borrowed long-term fund to leverage the newly issued share capital. Before flotation, the company was almost exclusively financed from the founder's share capital. retain earning, and short-term finance. So there was no issue in this entire paragraph. But why have I included this paragraph? Just for the sake of giving you the insight of what the organization is basically wanting you to say. Now, this is the paragraph, or this is the point where the weakness is going to start. Transcript from the interview held between you and JP, the CEO of DCS company. You. Thank you very much, Mr. P, for showing me around the office in factory. I found your staff and their comments very interesting. First of all, could I ask you to tell me how you would describe how your company is structured and managed? Java. I would describe DCS as fairly highly centralized company. I suppose in management speak, we would describe the DCS management structure as functional bureaucracy. Now, tell me one thing. If you're not aware of the word functional bureaucracy, what do you mean by functional bureaucracy? Actually, there are SOPs for everything. For every single process, there are certain SOPs or protocols to follow that process. So this is known as functional bureaucracy. We prefer not to allow too much managerial and departmental autonomy for their own good, of course, to ensure that they act in the best interest of DCS and to avoid irresponsible risk taking, which unfortunately has happened occasionally in the past. We expect middle managers to respect and respond positively to senior management requests of directors and not to question these unless they are very sure of their facts. This is probably a legacy from the flotation era, where much of the strategic directions was always decided by me and my closest senior director, most of whom were my family and trusted friends. So can you identify one weakness over here? Don't tell me, just keep on writing your weaknesses. Have you identified any one of them? Please write it on your notebook or laptops on which you are writing basically. I'm giving you 1 second, 1 minute of pause. Kindly write it. हाँ ठीक है जी हाँ और दूसरी बात ये कि जो डिसीजन मेकर थे वो कौन है बात ही खत्म हो गई बिल्कुल बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं क्या हो सकता है actually यहाँ पे over here what you need to decide the functional bureaucracy. Actually you need to decide the managerial issues. What you will be doing, you will be deciding the managerial issue, not other form of issue, right? Is it clear to everyone? You just need to identify, you just need to write a pointer. Okay, let's move forward. You again, would you mind explaining how your company is directed by describing your corporate governance? Would you mind explain how your company is directed by describing the, can't we have an interactive session where a discussion take place? Yes, we are having that interactive session where we are going to discuss what are the strategies. What we will be doing is we'll be writing out some points where there is an explanatory issues or maybe the governance issues, and then we are going to identify how these points are going to materialize. Right? Would you mind explaining how your company is directed by describing your corporate governance arrangement to me, please? Java. Yes, I can. Please look at this chart. Java hands you the extract of the organizational chart represented below. Now, this is something which is important, right? Look, let's look at this. Who is the CEO and chairman? One single person. Identify the weakness. Write a point. But it is corporate governance, let's suppose good governance requirement. So you have to identify this weakness. Identification of weakness is not something which is a regulatory requirement. We are just identifying the weakness. What you can write is, let's suppose you can write, okay, the CEO and chairman is one single person. The CEO and chairman is one single person. And due to the fact that it is the one single person, so what we can do is there should be two different persons, because if we are going to hire two different persons for these strategies, we will end up in providing good governance and more transparencies to the organization. Sorry, segregation of duties. Marketing director, JD, production and IT director, TN, finance director, Tosh Mondal, HR director, TH, Trish Hopkins, and non-executive director, Ashraf P. Asaf. पाकिस्तानी आ गया था कहां लिखा हुआ है only one non-executive director. This is the third weakness. You can write it down. This is your third weakness. No balance between the board. शक्ति मैं तो तुझे हाय का जवाब दे रहा हूं. Java since 2006 जी there should be a balance between the board. Balance does not mean right equal voting rights. It should be equal voting rights. Do you get this, Shakti? समझ आ रही है? तुम नहीं There should be a balance between the board. Please concentrate. There should be a balance between the board. Now, what do you mean by balance between the board? Balance between the board means that both the executive and non-executive directors should have equal voting power. As I have told you that if the chairman of the company and CEO of the company are same person, this means that the chairman will have two voting powers. This means that if we are having 4 executive directors, and we are having 3 non-executive directors, it means it's a balance between the two, because chairman will be having 2 voting powers. So you won't be giving this example, but yes, you will be writing that there should be a proper balance being maintained between the board. Again, it says since 2006, DCS has been governed by a board of directors with me acting as CEO and chairman. You have already identified this weakness, giving me sufficient control to effectively direct the company and take strong leadership over the board, encouraging debate and driving the agenda. The board comprises of marketing director, Jules. He was my original sales manager. What weakness can you identify over here? Sales manager becoming the marketing director. What is the connection between sales manager and marketing director? This means, although it's the same department, but he will not be having those professional competence of acting. See, being a direct, yes, lack of having skills. You know one thing, director should have skills, knowledge, independence, size, skills, and experience. So this director is not having an experience. This director will not be having the skill set. So these two things are lacking right now. You make sure that these two things are present. So yes. ऊपर लिखा हुआ था. Lack of experience, lack of commitment, lack of knowledge, balance issues. लिखा हुआ नहीं है इसमें. मैं देखता हूँ. Okay. Now the next part is we also have an original sales manager employed. He was our original sales manager employed by the company, who I have known for a long time now. We also have a production and IT director, Tony, who has been with the company for more than over Is there any weakness? Yes, please. Directors का था ना? हाँ, तो is this a weakness? Is this a weakness? See, I'm reading it once again. We also have a production and IT department director, Tony, who has been with the company for 10 years. He has strong background in data communication and hardware components. Evaluate karate. How can a person be for the 10 years, and why is it the case that he is not being re-elected, or he is not presenting himself for re-election when he is becoming another director? Yes, nomination committee aayega. Independence issues. Teams are, yes, 3 years of limit. So these are all those weaknesses. Identify, just write it as a weakness. Your drafting skills will be tested afterward. Just write it as a weakness right now. Tosh is a finance director. He joined the company just before the company was listed on the National Stock Exchange. TH is our female HR director, and we also benefit from an independent non-executive member of the board. So again, this is one of the biggest requirement. This is one of the biggest flaw. We only have one non-executive director. We do not have another weakness. We do not have 4 functioning committees. We do not have 4 functioning committees. Yes. Then it says, we were very fortunate to appoint Asaf because he is very talented businessman and also an executive director of one of the 2 largest suppliers. He is an, just read this point once again. I'm reading it once again. We are very fortunate to appoint Asaf business because he is very talented businessman. He himself is a businessman, conflict of interest, and also an executive director in one of the 2 largest suppliers. How can a supplier person be the director of our company? How can a person who is the supplier and he is the director of our company as well? Because he is going to approve his own, let's suppose, invoices by providing his own products. He's going to approve more and more amount of money to be sanctioned on an early basis. So this is a skepticism skill. You are going to have a questioning mind. Now, how will you question this? You're going to write, how can a person, Tone is being appointed, you're going to write the entire story. Tone is being appointed as the director of the company. However, it seems that the requirement of corporate governance is not being dealt reliably, because Tone is also the part of the suppliers community, and this will impose greater amount of self-interest threat in the Tone's point of view. So this decision should be evaluated once again. Isn't this skepticism? Sorry? Yes, it is a related party transaction. Being a businessman can also be a conflict of interest because he is running to, see, whenever you are, he is not an NED, he is an ED. अच्छा, अब यहाँ पे मेरी assumption ये हो रही थी कि because the non-executive director is running a business, so I was assuming they might be running a competitive business. But right, if you are assuming that no, it's not a competitive business, we can go with the second point as a weakness. Now, this means that he has a really good knowledge of our business and of the data communication industry, despite the fact that he might be having good knowledge, but this is not the parameter of selecting a director. So can you identify the questioning mind in this? Can you identify the skepticism skills? So are you able to identify the question over here or not? Will you be able to write that specific question? Will you be able to showcase the question? For example, let's suppose it says that you are going to identify the weakness, and not only identify but explain the weakness. So what I'll do is I'm just giving you an overview so that you can have a better discussion, and when you are going to write, you'll write it in a better format. Let me make some of the points for you. Since 2006 DCA, the first point that you can write is that since DCS was a privately owned company, so it was not legally required to follow the corporate governance requirement. However, after becoming a public listed company, just have an ear on me right now. However, after becoming a public listed company, the corporate governance requirement are reliably applying on DCS company, and the DCS company should have a proper board committee comprising of 4 different parts. If not, the DCS company will not be following a good corporate governance requirement. This is my weakness number 1. Now, my weakness number 2 says that as the CEO of the company and chairman of the company is one single person, this is going to pose more amount of self-interest threat. Why is it the case that the single person is being taken as CEO and chairman of the company? That is, he is running the entire board as well as the operations of the company. Rather, a better suggestion would be to hire 2 different persons for these roles, which will also have an impact on segregation of duties. Why का word क्यों use हुआ? Why is skepticism? कहीं देखें identification हो or it is recommendation. This skepticism should be part of one specific point. Maybe in identification or its recommendation, but there should be some skepticism shown in between. The entire line will not include why, who, and where, and how. You might include it in between the paragraph. You have to write it in between the lines, right? Is it clear to everyone? Moving forward. I hope so you are getting what I'm trying to explain, and you will be in a position to identify weakness in a most appropriate manner. That is really useful background, Mr. P. So, what about standing governance committee, which presumably report to the board? Java, we have an audit committee constituted of 3 experienced network engineers. Now, first, let me know one thing. Audit committee composition should be 100% EDs or 100%? And look at this. Again, we have an audit committee constituted of 3 experienced network engineers who focus on the one more thing. Audit committee should have at least one person who is having financial and audit related experience. And all 3 individuals are network engineers. Ab drafting is your art. Who focus on and investigate internal, see, engineers focusing on internal controls. Who focus on and investigate internal controls and quality features when they arise. How can they work on internal control? How are they focusing on investigating internal control? This is the work of management, not the work of audit committee. Rather, audit committee work is to evaluate the internal control weaknesses, is to evaluate the effectiveness of internal control rather than evaluating or making the internal control or investigating the internal control. Investigation means identifying the control weaknesses. Evaluation of internal controls is different, right? When it says to promote more independence, we have also appointed a non-executive director as the chairman on this committee who is a former compliance officer at an airport. Whom we are? We are the software or technological company. And the non-executive director have an experience of Air Force. Traffic control. Chairman of the committee is in air traffic control and aviation regulation, but she is also telecommunication expert. Shukar hai. She is also telecommunication. To promote more independence, we have also appointed a non-executive director on this committee. Who is, no, they have newly appointed a non-executive director on this committee who have an experience of aviation and traffic control in the airport. Yes. होगी हाँ again financial expertise in में से किसी के पास है thank you sorry ये तो board committee के ऊपर एक इन्होंने बंदा है किया and again hiring a chairman on board committee is not allowed, right? You yes Yes, bilkul. Yes, yes, yes. They should have appropriate knowledge, but if it is identifying, for example, over here, it is identifying that this person is not having an appropriate knowledge in terms of telecommunication, rather they have an experience of being into the aviation authorities. You, what about the risk committee? And do you have a nomination and remuneration committee as well? DCS has no separate board appointed risk, remuneration and nomination. Now look at the answer. All strategic and long-term planning initiatives are initiated and decided upon by the main board led by myself. Biggest weakness. And of course, our management structure and culture is such that we embed risk management throughout through having the close control over the staff that I mentioned to you previously. As for salary, we strongly believe that all board members should be having fixed salary. You know it very well. Board should have fixed along with variable, which include PRP, performance related pay. It says, as for salary, we strongly believe that all board members should be on a fixed salary to encourage them to take long-term perspective rather than rewarding them with short-term performance bonuses. All board members, yes, NAD should never be paid on fixed basis. The weakness over here is that we do not have any board committee relating to nomination or remuneration. NAD is paid, NAD is not fixed. NAD is paid on the basis of meetings. The rate is fixed, not the amount. Over here, he means to say that we are paying fixed amount rather than rate. Right? As far as the recruitment, remuneration, and succession planning is concerned, I personally approve and manage all middle or senior staff recruit. No recruitment committee for board. No recruitment committee, no nomination committee for the board. And staff promotion. So there is no need for formal induction processes. No formal induction processes. No formal induction processes is being hired. After becoming a listed company, you cannot hire any executive director without having an approval of shareholders. So in order to facilitate this one, you should have a nomination committee. You should have a remuneration committee. The nomination committee is going to identify the potential director, and the shareholders is I will be, let's suppose, selecting the expected director for all executorial roles. Again, it says, as far as recruitment and remuneration and succession planning is concerned, I personally manage an all middle and senior staff recruitment and staff promotion. So there is no need for formal induction processes for our directors and senior management. You, now that you are a listed company, how do you report and engage with your shareholders, particularly institutional shareholders? DCS does not have any special governance or reporting structure to engage with the shareholders, including institutional shareholders. But of course, we do meet our minimum company law obligation in relation to the statutory reporting to the shareholders, democracy, voting, and other constitutional rights. That was very helpful, Mr. B. But what I would like now is more data on the overall performance of DCS and a copy of the October board report, which I know was considering the strategic option of facing DCS. Certainly, I will ask TM to send you our summarized integrated reporting data attached on a spreadsheet. I will also ask the marketing director to send you the board report for October. Thank you, Mr. B. So this is how the entire structure works. Now, I would want you all, I have shared this handout. I would want you all that I'm giving you at least 30 minutes to write the entire answer. And then I'm going to show and discuss my answer. Now, this is something which is important. You have to do this, right? So start writing your answer. It's 9 p.m. right now. I'm going to ask you to show me your answer at 9:30, but I'm rotating right now in the class so that I can see that you all are writing your answer. Yes, yes, yes. इतनी सारी वीकनेस ऐसी मिल गई हैं, क्या जरूरत है? Okay, guys, what you need to do, you need to make what you can do. Another good approach will be, if you want, weakness and recommendation in one single paragraph. First part of the paragraph will include weakness. Second part of the paragraph will include recommendation. In this way, you will be writing four different paragraphs. But before writing this, you have to give an introduction. For example, if I would have written this answer, how will I introduce? I'll write DCS company was previously a privately owned company, and now it is about to go for the listing requirement. However, currently the board structure of DCS company is not in accordance with good governance. There are certain lacks, there are certain, let's suppose, weaknesses in the DCS company's governance structure, and these weaknesses, if dealt properly, will lead DCS company into companies having good corporate governance. Next paragraph, weakness recommendation. Next paragraph, weakness recommendation number 2, weakness recommendation number 3, weakness recommendation number 4. If you're going to write at least 4 weakness and recommendation, you will gain acceptable marks in this format, but you'll have to write a format of report. Start, please. अलग अलग नहीं कर सकते स्केप्टिसिज्म मैच होना नहीं नहीं Okay, now one thing that I'm doing right now is that I am sharing, sorry, I'm reading the answers of students who have written in front of me, or the students who are basically physically present. I'll read their answer and I'll identify their mistake to everyone, right? I'll not name them, but I'll identify their mistakes to everyone. Now, one of the most prominent mistakes that I have seen in one of the answers is your tone, that you should not write a direct answer, for example, stating that they don't want risk committee or they don't want audit committee is a different statement that than saying that they don't have a risk committee. Be more considerate, be more moderate, write they don't have rather than going for the word that they don't want risk committee, right? Is it acceptable? So this is how you are going to write. Now, another mistake that I've seen is, see, introduction does not means introduction about company. Introduction means introduction about scenario. If you are writing that this is a company of high tech company, it was a privately owned company, now it's a publicly listed company in 2006, it includes a CEO whose name is this. This is not going to be a good introduction. A good introduction will be the introduction regarding case, not regarding the company, right? Is it good to go? So I'm reading the answer of a student and then I'll identify his mistake. Okay, so one of the answer that I have corrected, it lacks skepticism skills. Just writing the weakness and its impact will not let you gain marks. In order to gain marks, you need to showcase the skepticism which was not present in your answer specifically. Yes. एक मिनट पहले